Hello and welcome to the Seer 365 sessions. Every week we get somebody interesting from the Microsoft channel to talk about interesting topics, try and get experts from around the thing to talk about stuff that's hopefully of interest to you. And this week we've got a really interesting partner from Ireland. We've got Sysco Software Solutions, or Cisco to everybody, to be honest, and their commercial director, Paul Bingham. So welcome to the Seer 365 sessions, Paul.
Thank you. Nice to be here, Richard.
So as is traditional at this point, just start off with a bit about you and a bit about Cisco.
We've been around a long time. We celebrated 40 years, would you believe, last October, and we had a bit of a birthday party. So, like I suppose many experienced partners in this industry, we've been around. I suppose we first really moved into sort of accounting and ERP back in the late 1990s. In fact, just before that, we were working with a product called Sun Systems, which is an accounting product, and I'd worked with Sun in London for many years. But really, we started off with accounting, particularly into financial services and public sector. But by the late 90s, we were really looking for sort of manufacturing distribution functionality, and I came across this little Danish product called Navision at the time, over at a trade show in Germany, and I suppose here we are. So we built up that sort of Navision practice, and then we invested in CRM. We invested in AX and now F&O. So we're purely a Microsoft. We're purely a Dynamics partner. We operate in a small market. But quite uniquely, we have sort of two jurisdictions in a market of 7 million people on the island of Ireland. So we operate out of Northern Ireland and Republic of Ireland. So we've got some quite unique challenges in that some of the requirements for customers, can be, across UK and Ireland jurisdictions. But yeah, so we focus, and we're about just over 105 people now today.
Yeah, and congratulations on the 40 years of being around. Coming from Seer, we've only been around for a couple of years, so 40 years seems pretty incredible. You've obviously seen some everything really. Going from the 90s, with the millennium stuff, and then going to more recently moving to the cloud. So one of the things we were sort of talking about before this was that longevity, right? And that longevity of partnerships, both the way that you work. So in your case, having worked with Microsoft for 40 years or so, there won't be many partners that have been doing it that long, but also with your customer base as well. So do you want to talk a little bit about how you see that longevity? What makes a good long-term relationship? I think lots of people talk about that, kind of we're in it for the long haul, we'll be here forever, but you've actually done it. So what are your thoughts around that?
I think focus, have a goal, know what you're good at and stick to that, and then adapt. I mean, yes, we've been working with Dynamics pre-Microsoft. Technology has changed a lot out there. But actually the job of implementing a business solution hasn't changed. Technology's changed, functionality, the breadth of product we have now, and the skill sets we have to have. But actually that core business, which is not an easy business in ERP and CRM in terms of, the sales cycle for a start, the focus that you have to have on particular markets to be successful. And the business has changed a lot over the years. I mean, back in the day, partners tended to be, all they did was, the best partners just did software. Some dabbled a bit in infrastructure, but mostly, operated. And there was lots and lots of different products. But today, what we've seen is obviously the rise of Microsoft, and it's a little bit of luck as well. I mean, you could argue that, yeah, we were fantastic and we chose the right product back in 1998. But the little bit of luck was that Microsoft bought it in 2003. We could have gone off down a different track at that point, and Microsoft could have bought somebody else. But there's no doubt Microsoft has been a game changer over the years. And typically, when they go into a market, they go in to dominate. And it's taken a while, but what we're seeing now is a huge amount, I suppose, of other Microsoft new partners coming into the market over the last few years. And that's, as one Microsoft person said to me when I was complaining about it a few years ago, well, you can either be part of this and have a much bigger market to address, or you can take your chances with another vendor. Okay, you might be the only partner in town, but the amount of opportunities. So there's no doubt, I mean, a rising tide raises all boats, but there's a lot of boats out there with holes in them, and they spend their time bailing the boat out with a bucket. So I think the good partners have a very strong focus on what they do. They're not just sort of playing at it, or it's just not a small division, somewhere in an organization, in a bigger organization. Being in a smaller market, it's maybe a little bit easier because we have a defined market. We've had to be horizontal and vertical, because it's not a big market. We just can't focus on one particular industry. We have to have several industries, and that sort of balances against recession as well, and having a customer base that's in public sector as well as the private sector helps.
I talk about your aircraft leasing stuff quite a lot as a great example of a market that may not be the largest market in the world.
No.
There's only so many aircraft leasing companies in the world, but actually having that focus on it means that you're able to deliver some really good stuff for the customers that you chase. And plus, it's quite a. When I think of aircraft leasing, I'm thinking private jets. So that's kind of a cool thing to think about.
It's a very interesting market in finance, and again, it's about having a little bit of luck, but also picking the right market. And Dublin is the capital of aircraft leasing in the world. There's more lessors in Dublin than anywhere else. But with that, and it just shows you the power of verticalization and being able to build on the Microsoft platform and build your own IP on top of the core. We built it on top of Core Business Central and customer engagement. And that's a very powerful message to end customers, because they know their sort of investment is safe going forward because Microsoft is behind it, and and the product set's going to be constantly moved on. But then we can invest in the actual application and pulling it all together. It's just tremendous the sort of the power of your own vertical IP in a market, because in terms of the amount of competitors you're dealing with, in terms of the success, even the length of time for the implementation, everything is shorter. But that's one side, and that's probably the bit that we are worldwide with. I mean, we've customers all around the world with that. But the rest of our business is mainly sort of is UK and Ireland, and that goes across sort of distribution, food industry in particular. We have a lot of verticals in food, manufacturing, and public sector, which actually we did an awful lot of work in public sector years ago, and then we're much more private sector focused, and now it's sort of coming full circle again, just with opportunities in the market. So you've got to be able to adapt and keep reinventing yourself. I think, and it's a wee bit last man standing.
So talking about reinventing yourself, how do you plan for that long term then? So you obviously made, I would argue, a pretty good bet to go with Nav, and as you said, a bit of luck behind it that Navision was then bought alongside Great Plains, sort of 2000. I think it was about 2000, wasn't it, when it was acquired?
2003.
2003 was it? Yeah. So what about what are you seeing sort of in the future? What are you sort of thinking, like what's next type stuff? What are you offering your customers?
I think the big change is the breadth of, okay, you've got to be focused, but the breadth of what you have to offer and the skill sets then you require to deliver that. So, obviously we cover everything from, smallish customers with Business Central in different markets, right through to some fairly sizable F&O opportunities. So, we've had to build those practices, and we've had to build them from the ground up pretty much ourselves. When we started, there was nobody, there wasn't any Navision people. They didn't exist. In fact, Navision didn't even exist in the UK. There was a franchise. So when you come to trying to get people trained and started up, you were that's what you had. So we've always been quite self-sufficient, and then also building the CRM practice, and again just trying to work out where the growth is going to be and try and plan a few years ahead. Because you can't expect instant results. You need to be planning 2-3 years ahead on where you think things are going. And sometimes you get a little bit of luck, but I think one of the biggest challenges for us, and like I think several partners, is reinventing ourselves in terms of into the sort of managed service space. Where we've been used to, selling systems on-prem, maintaining them, and doing break fix maintenance, and then every 7 or 8 or 10 years we come along and do this big upgrade. And to have to sort of reinvent yourself and retrain people and create new rules within the company to provide managed services, so the customer is always on the whole time, constantly. The evergreen policy. So that's been the biggest thing. And we're a little bit lucky here because we tend to be a little bit behind the curve. So I always say whatever happens in the States sort of comes to the UK a couple of years later, and then comes to Ireland maybe a year or two after that. So you can, to some extent, maybe see it coming. And sometimes you don't, but most of the time you can see the change is coming.
But over the course of the 40 years, you've obviously had lots of customers, and hopefully, some of them you may already have from the beginning. What would you say, if a customer listening to this, or somebody listening to it who sort of wants to give advice to their customers, or what's kind of the best practice you've seen? What's kind of the common thread of the success of implementations?
I think it takes two to tango. And okay, we can focus on, we've got experienced people, strong skill sets, domain knowledge of that industry, good project governance, whatever. But it also is so important, the culture and the of the client. And all our best implementations have been with really good forward-thinking companies that have defined goals and objectives of what they want from technology. They put in place the right structure to put in an implementation properly in terms of the people and the organization. And you can tell by the culture when you walk in, how they treat you as a partner rather than a supplier. And they companies don't do this every day of the week, but we do. So it's about trust. I think, you have to trust us. We know this is our business, and we're in this for the long haul. And we've, obviously we've been, with Innovation and now Business Central, for example, probably the longest. But we've customers now over 25 years. Some of them still with us, and we've gone through a number of iterations. So I think you got to get close to your customers, and you need good people on our side. And then, as I say, we've probably walked away from a couple of things last year because we didn't feel that it was going to work well, because we didn't feel that the customer had the right structures in place to make it success. Because we know how much work has to go in on both sides, and to be able to backfill those day-to-day jobs that the customer has, and have the right focus from senior management and the right support. So yeah, it's not easy, as we all know. But I think the smart companies really understand that it's a long-term partnership, and it's not just do something and walk away again.
Yeah, I think. Do you think because of the move to the cloud, where it's that this is a continual upgrade path, right? It's not a, like you said, every 7 to 10 years, give you a call, you come back in, spend a couple of million euros or whatever to install the latest version. Whereas now it's that continual relationship with the customer. You're always going to be there. You're always going to be helping them out, training, upgrade to the latest platform, whatever it might be. Do you think that's going to that relationship bit feels like it'll become even more important?
Yeah, because I mean it's constant. And yes, in the past we've done lots of ongoing work with many clients, as they implement more software, or they acquire another company, or something happens, and there's that sort of consultancy input quite often. And also with, on the ERP side particularly, there's quite often, software development, change requests coming through. So there's that relationship. But there's a new type of, as you say, with the managed service piece, a new interaction where, the customer, has to be responsible for the ultimate, final testing and quality of the update, and so working together, every month, every 2 months, doing these specific tasks in a new type of role. So, yeah, I think it's a good thing, because there's obviously lots of customers out there you don't hear too much from, but in the new world, there's going to be much more interaction, I think.
Yeah, and having your reputation and your longevity will only help with that. I mean, that's they know that if you've had customers for 25 years, you must have been doing something right. It's not too hard to find a new partner in the word of Google, or Bing, we probably should say, as we're talking about Microsoft. So to keep customers that long is a real testament to the company.
And it boils down to people. And people are just so important, because it takes so much time to get people, the right skill sets, etc. And I think there's the softer side, where we've always, even like long before COVID, we were always try to be really flexible with our people, and if somebody had, one of their children had a music exam or whatever, and they need to go and take a couple of half days this week, that's fine, because we know that people have lives outside of this. They have families, and they have all sorts of stuff going on. So we've always tried to be flexible, and I think our people then have repaid that with a lot of loyalty, and we have a lot of people with us a long time. And so that's becoming, and it's funny now the way things are in the market in terms of recruitment, that's becoming really, really important now. So yeah, you've got to provide staff with all the right training and everything they need to be able to do the job, but you've got to treat them with respect. So I think that comes through with our customers. They see that, a consultant they dealt with 4 or 5 years ago is still there, and they can call upon, or a consultant that they dealt with 15 years ago is now managing support or whatever. There's that consistency there, which I think is powerful. So it's all down to people.
Yeah, and you mentioned the sponsorship. I like my words, but the kind of the sponsorship within the customer of having the senior people involved with the project. I think that's certainly the one thing I've seen where the inverse, where that doesn't happen, you can get some really, really bad experiences quickly. So,
and just that, people that have been doing this for a long time, as I say, technology changes, but fundamentally, what we're doing isn't changing in terms of the skill sets for delivery, and knowing what's going to work and knowing when something's not going to work and being able to advise clients, this is too much, this isn't, we're going off piece too much here or whatever, but just to be able to steer the ship.
Well, Paul, I think we're coming towards the end of our time. I again just wanted to congratulate you and everybody at Sysco, both currently at Sysco today and previous employees. Over 40 years, we've had a few people walk through those doors. So
I'm only 42. No, I'm only joking. No, just a quick thank you to you guys, because it's been a really good partnership over the last 12, 18 months, and as part of our continuous improvement, I think utilizing Guide has been really good, for us, to give us we've always had structured methodologies for implementation, but now we have an implementation methodology on the pre-sales side, and I think that's only a good thing for us and our customers. So I wish you continued success.
Thank you very much. And we've been working, some of the individuals within Seer have been working with Sysco for a good number of years in various guises, and we've always enjoyed working with you guys. Always fun around the Six Nations as well, to have somebody I can reach out to as a Welshman, and the Wales Island game's always a good one. So.
See you next week after next.
I'm not holding out any hope this season, but anyway. So if you're interested in talking to Paul and the team at Sysco, it's Sysco Software. Like I said, we're easily one of the best Dynamics partners globally, with a enviable reputation. And again, congratulations on the 40 years, and here's to the next 40.
Brilliant. Thank you. Okay.
Thanks for your time.
Cheers, Richard. Bye-bye.